Hello students, welcome to my next session. So as we all know that we are doing this one shot review. So as part of that series we have started our conic sections. So this today's topic is hyperbola, which is our last topic of conic sections. Right, so far we have covered our each and every topic related to the conic sections. Circles we have discussed, parabola we have discussed, ellipse we have discussed. So let's have a look over our last topic of conic sections, which is the hyperbola. And so let's start with it. So as we know, first we'll be starting with the typical definition of a conic section. So that's actually remains same for our each and every conic sections which we have seen so far, but there will be a slight difference, so that we'll be seeing in our further slides. Right. So first let's see what is actually a conic section. A conic section or a conic is the locus of a point whose distance from a fixed point bears a constant ratio to its distance from a fixed line. So it's a constant ratio, that is a distance from a point to a fixed point to the ratio of fixed distance, right, to the fixed line. Right, so you can see the arbitrary point here. So PS by PM, that is the constant ratio here, and the fixed point is called to be a focus, and the fixed line here is called to be a directrix. Right, so this definition and all, I hope you all are familiar with that, because we have discussed this even in our earlier conic sections also. Right, so that constant ratio is nothing but called to be the eccentricity of the conic section. Right, so which is denoted by, so PS by PM is a constant ratio, which is nothing but eccentricity. We will be using the alphabet E in order to represent the eccentricity here. Right. So now, is this eccentricity important here? Yes, it is, because based upon this range of this eccentricity, we can actually classify our conic sections here. So you can see the range of this eccentricity value. So if this eccentricity value is lying in between 0 to 1, right, so 0 less than E less than 1, then that corresponding conic section is called to be a ellipse. So is called to be an ellipse. So on the other hand, if this eccentricity value is equal to 0, so when, equal to 1. So when this will be equal to 1, that means our PS here will be equal to PM. Right, then it denotes a conic section, which is a parabola. Right, and the next, when the eccentricity is greater than 1. Right, that means that corresponding conic section is hyperbola, which means PS by PM will be greater than 1, which indicates the distance from the fixed point will be greater than distance from the fixed line. Right, so this will be my conic section, which is the hyperbola. So as we know, today's our topic is hyperbola. We have already discussed the ellipse and parabola in our previous sessions. So if you haven't looked those sessions before, so go ahead and just have a look over those two topics also, ellipse as well as the parabola. So now we are going to discuss about hyperbola. What is the hyperbola section here? The conic section when the eccentricity is greater than 1 is the hyperbola. So we know that these all conic sections are actually derived from our right circular cone. Yes or no? So that with that actually we are familiar with that. Right, so let's see the sections of our hyperbola. So in this video you can identify our different conic sections like circle, parabola, ellipse, and then hyperbola too. So as our today's topic is hyperbola, so let's have a look over the shape of this hyperbola, how we can actually get from the right circular cone. Right, so here you can see a right circular cone. If this cone is cut in this plane flat form, then we end up having a hyperbola section which will be having a shape like this. Right, so this actually denotes a hyperbola. Right, so as we have seen the difference between from our background of conic sections. So now is there any places or are there any things which we can find in the shape of hyperbola in our real life, in our everyday life? Yes, there are few. So let's have look over some real life examples where we actually find this shape of hyperbola. So here you can see, so this is one shape of our hyperbola, one thing which we can find. Right, so many of us might have in our homes this particular thing, timer. Right, so the other thing is Pringles. So if you can observe these Pringles in detail, so they actually have a shape of the hyperbola. So these are a very real everyday life or examples which we can say from where we can get to see the shape of the hyperbola. Right. So as now we have a quick idea of this, what is actually this hyperbola. Right, so what is the eccentricity of it and all. Right, so now let's have which we have derived from our conic sections too. Right, so now let's have a quick definition for our exact hyperbola. Right, so before getting that, we actually should know some conditions. Right, so because we'll be having a very common standard second degree equation, which you can see here, ax square plus 2hxy and all. So this equation actually represents a second degree equation. Right, so in order to represent a hyperbolic equation, this second degree equation must satisfy few conditions. Right, so let's have a look over those conditions. So we have discussed circle, parabola and everything. So today's focus will be our hyperbola as well as a rectangular hyperbola. So our focus will be last two points. Last two conditions here, which are related to the hyperbola as well as the rectangular hyperbola. So this second degree equation, in order to represent as a hyperbola or rectangular hyperbolic equations, it must satisfy the following conditions. So in order to represent a hyperbola, the two conditions are, so for every conic section we know there is a common condition, which is delta must not be equal to 0. So we all are familiar with this common condition for all the conic sections. So not only for the hyperbola, it must satisfy for ellipse, parabola, circle, for every of the things. Right. So there will be some additional conditions for each of the conic sections apart from this delta not equal to 0. And for hyperbola, the additional condition here is h square must be greater than AB. Whereas for rectangular hyperbola, along with delta not equal to 0, the condition is h square greater than 0, and along with that there is one more condition, as it's a rectangular hyperbola, which is a plus b should be equal to 0. Right, so these are the additional conditions which must satisfy by the second degree equation in order to represent a hyperbola as well as a rectangular hyperbola respectively. Right. So now, as we have seen our quick definition of conic section and our equation, like second degree equation representation with respect to the conic sections and all. So now let's see the quick definition of our hyperbola here. Right. So a hyperbola is nothing but the locus of a point in a plane which moves in the plane in such a way that the ratio of its distance from a fixed point in the same plane to its distance from the fixed line is always constant, which is always greater than unity. So until here, it's a same definition as our conic section, which means our PS by PM is equal to constant. But in order to represent this as a hyperbolic definition, this constant ratio always greater than unity, that means always greater than 1. Right, so this actually gives us the quick definition of our hyperbola. That means this constant ratio is always greater than unity. In other words, we can say eccentricity is always greater than 1. That corresponding section is nothing but a hyperbolic section. So as we have seen in our ellipse 2, we actually have two axes. Like we have seen different types of standard equations of ellipse. So in the same way here in our hyperbola, we actually have two different axes. The first one is transverse axis and the next one is conjugate axis. So this transverse axis is nothing but the line which is passing through the foci of the hyperbola, right? So if for suppose if this is our shape of hyperbola, so as we know we'll be having two foci. So transverse axis is nothing but the line which is passing through the foci. That means if this is my S and if this is my S dash, so the line which is passing through my foci, so this axis line is called to be the transverse axis, and as well as the line which is passing through the center. So here we'll be having the center passing through the center of this hyperbola as well as perpendicular to our transverse axis is called as conjugate axis. That means the axis which is perpendicular to transverse axis as well as passing through my center of the hyperbola. So this axis is called to be my conjugate axis. So we have to be very clear with this axis, because with respect to this axis alone, we can actually have our equations in different standard forms of our hyperbola. So first, in order to start our equation forms of hyperbola, we should have different different terms which are involved here. So let's have a look over the standard different terms which are related to hyperbola, and then we can jump into our equation formats of hyperbola. Right, so focal distance of a point. So that focal distance is nothing but the distance of a point on the hyperbola from the focus. So it's as simple as that. From any point to the focus is nothing but the focal distance, right? So if for suppose if you guys remember, in ellipse also we have defined the definition of ellipse with respect to the focal distance, right? So the same thing, the same concept is also applicable in our hyperbola, but with a slight difference. So let's have a look here. So the difference of the focal distances of any point on the hyperbola is constant, and that is equal to the length of the transverse axis. That is nothing but modulus of S1P minus SP, which is equal to 2A. So if you guys remember, we have even discussed the same typical concept in the ellipse also, where there it's a sum of the focal distances. So in ellipse we have seen S1P plus SP is equal to 2A, whereas in hyperbola it will be the difference. So in ellipse it will be the sum of the focal distances. When it comes to the hyperbola, it is difference of the focal distances. So here you can see it is modulus of S1P minus SP is equal to 2A. So this is another way of explaining the hyperbola, right? So we actually use this particular definition only in order to derive our equation of the hyperbola, or we can say in order to derive the standard equation of the hyperbola, right? So as so far we have get the information like what is the hyperbola, right? And we have seen how can we actually derive the definition of hyperbola. So here I am not going to derive the equation, but yeah, if you want to get the derivation too, you can get back to my full session video of this topic of hyperbola. So there you can find the entire derivation of the standard equation of hyperbola. So now as we have seen our definition, as well as we have seen how we can actually derive our equation, like with respect to what definition we can actually derive the equation of hyperbola. So let's get into our equation form, and let's see our standard terms which are related to the hyperbola of different forms, right? So our first form of hyperbola which we are having is with the equation x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. So this is my standard form of hyperbola, you can see here, and the figure you can see this will be my hyperbola form, where this x dash will be my transverse axis and y dash will be my conjugate axis here. So for this given hyperbola, I can have all my terms and the coordinates related to that, right? So let's start with the center of this hyperbola here. So you can see this x and x dash is my transverse axis and y dash is my conjugate axis here, and this O is my center of the hyperbola. So as it's a center, what will be my coordinates of the center of the hyperbola? So it's a origin with coordinates 0, 0, as well as I am going to have two foci here, S and S dash, and the coordinates of this foci are AE, 0 and minus AE, 0. Similarly, so these will be my vertices. A and A1 will be my two vertices of the hyperbola with the coordinates A, 0 and minus A, 0. So if you remember, so that is nothing but length of my transverse axis, which you have seen in our previous slide while writing the standard difference between the focal lengths are constant, right? So now you can see here we are having two directrix. So one directrix is here L and the other directrix is here L dash. So as we know, we can easily write the equations of directrix. So which is followed here. You can see, you can have a look here. So the equation of the directrix are given by x is equal to A by E, and x for L dash you can say x is equal to minus AE, right? So now the next and most important term which is related to our hyperbola, which is latus rectum. So this topic is very, very important because you can get a question which is related to this particular topic. You can expect a question. So latus rectum. So let's see what is the length of this latus rectum here. So here you can see L and L1, L dash and L1 dash. So these two are nothing but my latus rectum here. So my length of the latus rectum here is given by 2b square by A. So this is for my standard form of hyperbolic equation, which is given x square by A square minus y square by B square is equal to 1. And my length of the latus rectum here is 2b square by A. And the length of the transverse axis, which we already know, which is 2A, right? So the next term we are having here is length of the conjugate axis. So here as we have seen our length of the transverse axis, which is equal to 2A. So the perpendicular one will be the conjugate axis, which having the length to be equal to 2B. Right. So as we have seen, eccentricity here will always be equal to root over 1 plus b by a whole square for this standard form of hyperbola equation, or in another words, you can even write it to be b square is equal to a square into e square minus 1. So either way you can actually find the eccentricity of the hyperbola here. And coming to the next one, distance between the two foci as well as distance between the directrices here. Right, so let's see the distance between the foci. Right, so here S is one focus and the other is S1, which is the another focus. Right, so the distance between these two, which is equal to 2AE, is the distance between the two foci given here. And the next we are having is distance between the directrices, which is given by 2A by E. Right, so now as we have seen in our previous slide, that is length of the latus rectum. So as we have length, so we can even have the coordinates of the ends of this latus rectum, which are given here, that is plus or minus AE comma plus or minus b square by A. So these are the coordinates of the ends of my latus rectum. Right, so you can take one will be the other side and the other will be the other side of the axis. Right, so here you can see our focal radii, which is SP. So for that also we are having a standard format, so which is EX1 minus A as well as S1P will be having EX1 plus A. So these are the standard terms which are related to my hyperbola and the formulas related to them. So that is my first standard form of hyperbola, which is given x square by A square minus y square by B square is equal to 1. And coming to my next hyperbola, which is called to be the conjugate hyperbola here. Right, so initially what we have seen, it is actually along our horizontal axis, but now my hyperbola is along my vertical axis, and this particular hyperbola is called to be conjugate hyperbola, which is having the following equation here, that is minus x square by A square plus y square by B square is equal to 1. Right, so here the axes will be changing. So simultaneously the corresponding coordinates of the standard terms will also be changing. Right, so let's have a look over the terms as well as the coordinates of them. So once again for this conjugate hyperbola. So the first one is origin, that is the center here. So center is the origin having the coordinate 0, 0, and the next I am having my foci. So if you can see, according to my conjugate hyperbola, my two foci are lying along my y-axis, that is S and S1. So as they are lying along my y-axis, their corresponding coordinates will be 0, BE and 0, minus BE. Right, and similarly our vertices of this conjugate hyperbola A and A1, these also lying along my y-axis. So their corresponding coordinates here are given to be 0, B and 0, minus B. Right, so even so it's like a complete converse to our initial standard form of hyperbola, because there we had our hyperbola along our x-axis, whereas now we are having our hyperbola along the y-axis, which is called to be the conjugate hyperbola. So the terms will be having the same here, whereas their corresponding coordinates or their corresponding formulas will be different according to the axis. So here you can see equations, these are our directrices L and L dash. So corresponding equations of directrix here are given by y equal to b by e as well as y equal to minus b by e. So even the length of the lattice rectum here 2a square by b, initially it will be 2b square by a. So now this will be my transverse axis and this will be my transverse axis and this will be my conjugate axis. So my length of the transverse axis here it is 2b and length of my conjugate axis here is 2a. So if we compare to our previous hyperbola, so length of the transverse axis there it is 2a and conjugate axis there it is 2b. So it's a reverse here. So even our eccentricity here having a formula, that is e root over 1 plus a by b whole square, and distance between foci there it is 2ae but here it is 2be. So similarly our distance between directrix also will be changing. Instead of a it will be b here, right, because the axis has been turned here. And our coordinates of ends of the lattice rectum will also follow the same pattern, which will be giving you plus or minus a square b and plus or minus be, and the focal radii also having the same terminology here. So whenever we see a hyperbola and the conjugate hyperbola, the thing you have to remember is the axis will be different. So for our hyperbola, the hyperbola will be along x-axis, but whereas for conjugate hyperbola, the hyperbola will be lying along the y-axis. So as we have discussed our starting introduction part to our hyperbola and standard terms related to that, as well as we have seen the standard terms and their corresponding formulas related to that. So let's have a look over the type of question which we can expect from this perspective, like with respect to our important terms related to hyperbola. So let's read this question. So find the eccentricity of the hyperbola whose lattice rectum is half of its transverse axis. So in general, if they haven't mentioned here it's a conjugate, so we'll be going with our regular hyperbola and their formulas. So we have to find the eccentricity of the hyperbola whose lattice rectum. So what is the length of lattice rectum? So for our regular is 2b square by a. So the length of the lattice rectum is equal to half of its transverse axis. So half of what is our length of transverse axis? That is 2a. That means 2b square is equal to a square. So from here we end up having a condition which states that a square is equal to 2b square. Right, so from the given information in the question we end up having this condition between a and b values which states a square is equal to 2b square. So now the question is to find the eccentricity, but we already have the relation between a and b and our eccentricity. that is b square is equal to a square into e square minus 1. So b square is equal to a square into e square minus 1. So if you can substitute in place of a square 2b square, so the term b will be eliminated and you will be having only e, where you can find the eccentricity of the hyperbola here. So that will be giving you the answer, that is the eccentricity of the hyperbola. So I'll just give you the answer, you can check it later. So that is root over 3 by 2. So entire root over 3 by 2 will be the eccentricity of the hyperbola for this given information. So let's have a look over one more question here. So if E and E dash are the eccentricities of two hyperbolas conjugate to each other's. Right, so here they have given two eccentricities, E as well as E dash. So these two are eccentricities of two hyperbola conjugate to each other. That means one hyperbolic equation, that is x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1, and conjugate to this will be minus x square by a square plus y square by b square is equal to 1. Right, so according to the definition, so here what will be my relation between a, b as well as e? So just now we have seen b square is equal to a square into e square minus 1. So whereas for my conjugate hyperbola, so it's obvious that it will be changing the places here, the relation here. That means here it will be a square is equal to b square into e square minus 1. So here I am considering it is e dash. So e dash square minus 1. Yes or no? So from here, can I get a relation between my e square as well as e dash square? You can, right? So let's rewrite and see. So b square by a square is equal to e square minus 1. So it will be e square is equal to b square by a square plus 1, which is equal to b square plus a square by a square. But here we have to find 1 by e square. That means 1 by e square will be equal to a square by a square plus b square. So like how we have found out from this relation 1 by e square. So similarly you can find the relation of 1 by e dash square here. And then you have to find the value of 1 by e square plus 1 by e dash square. That means simply sum those two terms which you will be getting at the end of the simplification here. Right. So 1 by e square I have already simplified, which we have a expression in terms of a and b, that is a square by a square plus b square. So similarly using this particular relation you will be having a relation in terms of a and b for 1 by e dash square. So you can get that and you can substitute 1 plus e square, 1 by e square and 1 by e dash square here, and simply do the sum of those two terms, which will be giving you the final answer here. And the final answer here, that is 1 by e square plus 1 by e dash square is equal to 1. So check it after finding the 1 by e dash square relation from this expression. Right. So far what we have done, guys, we have started with our definition of hyperbola. We have seen our standard forms of hyperbola as well as conjugate hyperbola, and then we have seen what typical types of questions which we can expect from this with respect to of this standard terms concept. So now let's jump into our equation format. So as we have seen in ellipse, in parabola, like parametric form of equation, equation when its center is different. So likewise how we have seen different forms of equations for our parabola as well as ellipse. So in the same way, even for our hyperbola, we are having different forms of equations. So let's see the different forms of equations for this hyperbola here. So if the center of the hyperbola is h comma k, so here you can see we are having the center. So initially for our starting two standard hyperbola and our conjugate hyperbola, what is the center? It's directly 0 comma 0. Whereas here this hyperbola is having a center which is having the coordinates, that is h comma k. Right. And the directions of the axis are parallel to the coordinate axis. Then the equation of the hyperbola, whose transverse as well as conjugate axis are 2a and 2b, is given by x minus h whole square by a square minus y minus k whole square by b square is equal to 1. Right, that means in our previous cases the center is origin. That means x minus 0 whole square by a square minus y minus 0 b square is equal to 1. It's actually the same thing of x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. That means if we have a center with coordinates h comma k, then the corresponding equation of the hyperbola will be x minus h whole square by a square minus y minus k whole square by b square is equal to 1. So we are having the different form here. So if a point P x comma y moves in a plane of two perpendicular straight lines, right? So these two are perpendicular straight lines in such a way that, so this whole square by a square minus this distance whole square by b square is equal to 1. Then the locus of the point P is hyperbola whose transverse axis lies along this line and conjugate axis lies along the another perpendicular line. So it's just that if we are having a point P x comma y, so that's actually moving in a plane where we are having two straight perpendicular lines. Right, if the point is satisfying this relation, so if it's actually having this relation, then it states that that point is actually having the transverse axis as this line b1x minus a1y, and its conjugate axis will be the other line, that is a1x plus b1y plus c1 is equal to 0. Right, so the next format of our equation we are having is parametric format of equation. So here in place of our hyperbolic, the coordinates will be, our parametric coordinates will be in terms of secant as well as tan here, or you can see cos hx or sin hx. That means our hyperbolic trigonometric functions, you can say hyperbolic functions, right? So in terms of parametric equation of this hyperbola, that is x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. So that are given by that x here is equal to a secant theta and y here is equal to b tan theta. So if you substitute and see, that will give you the parametric form of equation of the hyperbola here. And in another words, you can even write using the hyperbolic functions. That means x is equal to a into e power theta plus e power minus theta by 2. That is nothing but equation of our cos h theta. Similarly, e power theta minus e power minus theta by 2. So that represents our sin h theta hyperbolic functions. So these are also parametric equations of hyperbola, because our cos h theta is equal to e power theta plus e power minus theta by 2. Similarly, sin h theta will be equal to e power theta minus e power minus theta by 2. Right. So both will be actually representing the parametric form of hyperbolic equation only. So now as we have finished our different forms of equations, so let's have a look over at one question, which one type of question which we can expect, which is related to our equation of hyperbola. Right. So let's read the question. So find the equation of a hyperbola if the distance of one of its vertices from the foci are 3 and 1. Right, so we have to write the equation of hyperbola if the distance of one of its vertices from the foci. So distance from foci are given 3 and 1. So find all the possible equations. So for this type of question, the major mistake that students will do, so they won't consider all the possible equations. So they'll just go by one condition and then they'll just find the answer. Right, so that's not the case, because here they have mentioned we have to find all the possible cases, which means we have to consider the horizontal, like the hyperbola along our x-axis, as well as hyperbola, that is our hyperbola as well as the conjugate hyperbola. Right, so let's have a relation here. So let me consider a case 1. So it's if the distance of one of its vertices from the foci, that means AE minus A, so that is equal to, so as it's a difference, so it will be a smallest value, so it will be 1, and the next one AE plus A will be equal to 3 because vert is to focus, right? So distance, so it will be either AE plus A or AE minus A, so it will be 1 and 3. So this is along my x-axis, so I can have one another case that gives me BE minus B which is equal to 1 and BE plus B which is equal to 3. So that's how I have to consider all the possible cases here while writing the equation of the hyperbola. So this question might be a multiple choice question where you miss by neglecting one case from this. So that's why you have to take all the possible cases, right? So let's see here. So from these equations, I guess you can find the values of AE. So if you can find AE and the corresponding thing, we can find the B also. That means using A, E and B, you can write the equation of the hyperbola. So once you can figure out these conditions for both of the cases, the next one is you have to find the unknowns. That means here we are having two equations and two unknowns A and E. So it's simple that you can find A and E values. So once we can find A and E values, so we have a relation between A, E as well as B terms. So there we can substitute the other two in order to find the third unknown value. So if you have all the three values of, if we have all A, B values, so then we can easily find the equation of the hyperbola, right? So so far, so that's all with our introduction, like equations related to our hyperbola. So now let's jump into our next topic, which is position of a point. So we are discussing this concept of position of point from our circles till our hyperbola too. So it's just the same thing. So substituting the given point in the equation and just check whether it lies inside, outside or on the section. But here when it comes to hyperbola, so there is a slight change here. That means if this value of x1 square by a square minus y1 square by b square minus 1, if this is greater than 0, then it indicates it is lying inside. If it is equal to 0, it is on the hyperbola. If it is less than 0, it states it is lying outside. So for our previous sections, we will be having if it is greater than, it will be lying outside the section. If it is less than, it is lying inside. So varies for hyperbola. So there is a slight change here. So that point you have to keep in your mind while dealing with this position of a point. So now as we are discussing about this position of point, so let's go one by one. So first take the condition of where the point lying on the section, on the hyperbolic section. So if any point, we'll just consider one point lying inside. So if you are having inside, we could able to draw the chord easily, right? So let's see if you can draw the chord, we can write the equation of the chord, right? So let's see the equation of chord here. So equations of chord joining two points. So here there are 2 points which are given. So on the hyperbola, x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. So there is nothing new guys here. So 2 points are already known here. So if you have 2 points which are known, so you guys are familiar with writing the equation of the line where 2 points are given. That is nothing but 2-point form of equation, right? So here you can see y minus b tan theta 1, and this is the slope into x minus a secant theta 1, right? So that will be giving you the equation of the chord. So if you simplify it further, you can get this expression of equation of the chord. So I am not going to derive the entire thing here. So if you want to do the derivation, if you want to do the entire thing, you can get back to my full-fledged version session of this topic, hyperbola. And the next we are having is equation of the chord of contact. So far we are in every conic section topic, we are having the same concepts and the same conditions. The only thing differs here is the equation of the conic section, right? So here also the same thing. So equation of chord of contact means what is the condition to write the chord of contact? So the condition here is t equal to 0. So in order to write the equation of the chord, so the condition, so here we are having for chord of contact is t equal to 0. That means in place of x square, it will be xx1. In place of y square, it is yy1. In place of x, it is x plus x1 by 2. Similarly, in place of y, it is y plus y1 by 2. So we are already familiar with these all substitutions. So here the equation of this chord of contact for hyperbola is given to be xx1 by a square minus y1 by b square is equal to 1. And the next one we are having is equation of the chord of the hyperbola. So first we have seen writing the equation of chord using 2 points, and then we have seen equation of chord of contact. So now we are having our equation of chord of the hyperbola. So direct chord, right? So that is having the condition t equal to s1. For chord of contact, the condition is t equal to 0. Whereas for the equation of the chord, the condition is t equal to s1. So t we already know, and s1 is nothing but the substitution of the point in the given hyperbolic equation. So now as we have seen our chord and the different forms of equations of chord, so now let's jump into our next concept, that is when the position of point lying on the hyperbola section. So initially we have seen when it lies inside the section, there we could able to write the what we can say outside the section, where we could actually draw the chord, right? So now it is lying on the section, so there we will be having there we can actually draw a tangent. So as we can draw a tangent, so there are different forms of ways in order to write the equation of tangent. So let's have a look over the different forms of writing the equation of tangent one by one here. So the first one we are having is the point form of writing the equation of tangent, which is, so the equation of tangent to the hyperbola at a point x1 comma y1 is given to be xx1 by a square minus y1 by b square is equal to 1. That means for point form, the the condition in order to write the equation of tangent is t is equal to 0. Similarly, let's see the parametric form. So guys, if you remember, I have explained you this parametric form even in our ellipse. So there is nothing new here. So instead of point form x1 comma y1, here we will be having in place of x1 a secant theta, in place of y1 a tan theta. So this is actually related to our point form only, whereas our point will be in terms of parametric coordinates, right? So what is our point form of equation of tangent? That is xx1 by a square minus y1 by b square is equal to 1, right? So whereas according to my parametric format, in place of x1 and y1, I have instead a secant theta and b tan theta. Let's substitute that. A secant theta, so x a secant theta by a square minus y b tan theta by b square is equal to 1. So 1a and 1b cancels. X by a secant theta minus y by b tan theta is equal to 1. So this will be my parametric equation of the tangent, like the equation of tangent in terms of parametric form. So the next one and the most important form of equation of tangent, so which is nothing but the slope format. So whenever we write the slope form of equation of tangent, so we must identify the condition of tangency first. So we have even seen this condition of tangency in circles, parabola and ellipse. So now again we are going to see the condition of tangency for our hyperbola too, but the conditions again there will be different. So here, so if the equation y, in order to have this equation y equal to mx plus c to be the equation of the tangent, it must satisfy the condition of tangency, which is c square is equal to a square m square minus b square. So this is my condition of tangency. So my condition of tangency here is nothing but c square is equal to a square m square minus b square, right? So in order to have this represent this y equal to mx plus c as the equation of tangent, it must satisfy this condition. And even we can have the coordinates of the point of contact which are given here, that is plus or minus a square m by root over a square m square minus b square, and then the y coordinate is also given here, right? So if this line satisfies this condition of tangency, then what will be our equation of tangent? So the equation of tangent is nothing but y equal to mx plus or minus, in place of c it will be root over, right? So it will be root over a square m square minus b square. So this is my equation of line here, which is given y equal to mx plus or minus root over a square m square minus b square, right? So now this line equation y equal to mx plus or minus is actually represents the equation of a tangent with the slope m here. So if the tangent at 2 points, so here we are having 2 points, the tangent is drawn from these 2 points. If these two are, those 2 tangents are intersecting at 1 point, so the coordinates of that 1 point intersection of the, so the coordinates of the intersection point is given here. So that is, you can see the coordinates here. So in other words, what you can actually do is, point form of writing the equation of tangent. So you can write the equation of tangent with this point P, or you can write the equation of tangent with this point Q. And as you are having 2 equations of the tangents, so in order to find the intersections is just that you have to solve those 2 equations. So if you guys feel it is difficult to remember these coordinates, then you can go by that methodology. Yeah, it will take somewhat time, but it actually works if you are feeling difficulty while remembering the formula, right? So the next one, 2 tangents drawn from P are real and distinct, coincident or imaginary according to the roots of the equation, right? So whether they are real and distinct or coincident or imaginary, right? So we have to, so if there is a point P, so from that point P 2 tangents are drawn. So if we have to identify whether those 2 tangents are real, distinct or coincident or imaginary, so that will actually get according to the roots of the equation which is given. So this is the equation. So you can remember. So in order to identify whether they are real, distinct, coincident or imaginary, so it will be based upon this roots of this equation. So this is the equation. So from that tangents, you can get the slope and you can substitute here. So that if these roots are real and distinct, then correspondingly the 2 tangents drawn to also real and distinct. If not, it will be coincident or imaginary. Simultaneously, it will be followed by that. And the next, we have already seen the condition of tangency, that is c equal to root over a square m square minus b square. So just now we have seen. So now let's see a question which is related to our tangent point of view, like quite related to our condition of tangency in exact words if we keep it, right? So find the condition that the straight line lx plus my plus n is equal to 0 touches the hyperbola x square minus a square minus y square minus by b square is equal to 1. So we have to find the condition here, right? So what is our condition of tangency first? That is c square is equal to a square m square minus b square. So just now we have seen here a square m square minus b square is my condition of tangency. So if I substitute all my values here, so I can get my condition here. So let's see. So in place of, so let's rewrite this straight line equation first. So minus Lx minus n. So y is equal to minus L by m x plus minus n. So I have to compare this with my standard equation mx plus c. So now in place of c I am having minus n. So minus n whole square is equal to, in place of a square it's the same a square. In place of m square I am having minus L by m whole square minus b square. So let's simplify. So a square L square by m square minus b square here, and here it is n square. So if we take the LCM, so it will be m square n square is equal to a square L square minus b square m square. Right. So now you can simplify it further to get the condition here. So you can actually rewrite it in order to get the condition. So that will give you the final condition here. So c square, sorry, m will also be here also, right? So minus n by m, sorry, m square. So here there won't be m. So it will actually get cancelled. So yeah, so that's all. So this will be the final condition, you can say, that is n square is equal to a square L square minus b square m square. So this will be our final condition such that this given straight line touches the given hyperbola. So in order to solve this type of question, the only thing we should aware here is the condition of tangency here. So the next one we are having is pair of tangents. So far we have seen one tangent, like drawing one tangent and point of intersection of those two tangents and all. So now we are having a pair of tangents, like from one single point we have drawn same two tangents here. That means the length of the tangents will also be same here, right? So if that's the case, the combined equation of those two equations, that is the pair of tangents, what is the condition here? So we are again considering this concept of pair of tangents from our previous topics also. So we just have to identify the condition in order to get the equation of the combined pair of tangents here. So the condition for this is SS1 is equal to t square. So my condition for this pair of tangents in order to write the combined equation is given to be SS1 is equal to t square. So you guys are familiar with S, that is the equation of the hyperbola. S1, that is the equation of hyperbola after substituting the point x1 comma y1 inside the equation, and then t square. So t is nothing but equation of tangent, and that's the whole square, right? So this is the condition in order to write the combined equation of the pair of tangents here, that is SS1 is equal to t square. So again, as we are talking about the pair of tangents, so if as there are two different tangents, so there is a possibility that we could have angle between these two pair of straight lines, right? So here you can see, so this is the point and these are my two tangents, which are my pair of tangents here, I can say, right? So if the angle between these two pair of tangents is 90 degrees, right? So then the locus of this point is nothing but a circle, right? So if this angle is 90 degrees, then only the locus of this point is a circle, which is called to be the director circle, having the equation that is x square plus y square is equal to a square minus b square. So the equation of the director circle for hyperbola is given here, which is x square plus y square is equal to a square minus b square. But there is a node point here for director circle in this topic of hyperbola. So this director circle is only exist when the a square value is greater than b square. So this condition you have to verify first. So then only you can able to write the director circle equation. So what the thing here is, in sometimes in objective case, so they'll simply ask you to find the director circle. So at that time we'll be remembering the equation, so we'll just directly write the equation. But there might be a trick that the a square value might be less than b square in the given question. You cannot actually have a director circle for that case. So that's the point some of you might miss while doing the solution in the examination. So you have to remember this note point 2, that is, so this director circle of hyperbola exists only when the a square value is greater than b square. So now as we have discussed our position of point and then the things related to that, so now in relation to our tangents, so there is one more concept, that is normal of hyperbola. So now, as we have discussed our equation of tangent, equation of pair of tangents and all, so there will be a line which is perpendicular to the tangent. So that line is nothing but called to be the normal of the hyperbola. So as we have a normal again which is a line, so we can have the equation of the normal line in different forms, right? So that means point form, we can have parametric form, right? So likewise for our normal of hyperbola also we will be having different forms of equations. So let's have a look over the different forms of equation here. So the first one we are having is a point form of equation of normal of the hyperbola. So the equation of the normal to the hyperbola x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1 is given here in terms of point form, that is a square x by x1 plus b square y by y1 is equal to a square plus b square. So if you are facing difficulty while remembering this, what you can do is you can write the equation of tangent and then you can take the slope from there and then you can find the equation of normal. So the next form of equation here we are having is parametric form. So the equation of the normal at the point a secant theta comma b tan theta to the hyperbola. So here you can identify the coordinates which are given here are in parametric format. So the corresponding equation of the normal will also be in parametric format. So which is given here, ax cos theta plus by cot theta is equal to a square plus b square. And coming to the next form of equation of normal, so which is very important because it's a slope form of equation, right? So as it's a slope form, we will be having the condition. So the condition is always about our c value, right? So here you can see the equation of the normal of slope m to the hyperbola x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1 are given by, so y equal to mx plus or minus m into a square plus b square divided by root over a square minus b square m square. That means from here c square is actually equal to m square into a square plus b square whole square divided by a square minus b square m square. So this is actually the c square value, right? So which we have substituted c from this in the equation of y equal to mx plus or minus c, right? And the corresponding coordinates of the point of contact are also given here, so which are followed by plus or minus a square divided by root over a square minus b square m square comma plus or minus b square m divided by root over a square minus b square m square, right? So these are the different forms of our equations of normals, so which are quite important. So point form we have seen, parametric form we have seen, as well as the slope form also we have seen. So just now as I mentioned, so this is our condition which you can see for our c square, where we have replaced in place of c in this equation y equal to mx plus c in order to get the equation of the normal to the hyperbola x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1, right? And the one more important point here which is related to the normal of hyperbola is, so maximum 4 normals can be drawn from a point to the hyperbola. So this is a quite important point. So maximum of 4 number of normals can be drawn from a point x1 comma y1 to the hyperbola x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. So this is the point. So as now we are going in a flow of our normal related things. So let's have a discussion over the things which are related to the normal here. So the one most important thing which is related to the normals that we are going to learn is conormal points. So if you guys remember, this conormal points is also there in our ellipse topic too. So where we have discussed in our ellipse topic also, right? So here points on the hyperbola, so the normals at which passes through a given point are called conormal points, right? So the normals that they will be passing through at a given point, so are called the conormal points like on the hyperbola. So these points will be points on the hyperbola where the normals will be passing through that particular point. So those points are called conormal points, and here there are some standard results which are related to the conormal points concept, right? So the first point here is the sum of the eccentric angles of conormal points is an odd multiple of 5. So you guys know what is eccentric angles and all. So the sum of eccentric angles of conormal points is an odd multiple of 5, right? So similarly here, if theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4, so if these 4 are the eccentric angles of my 4 points on the hyperbola, so which are the normal points, right? So as we have seen, maximum of 4 normals we can draw to the given hyperbola. So that's why we'll be having 4 corresponding eccentric angles of the 4 normal points on the hyperbola. X square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1. So then the normal at which they are concurrent. So the normal at which they are concurrent, then they will be giving the condition which is sigma cos of theta 1 plus theta 2 is equal to 0. Similarly, it will also have the another condition, that is sigma sine of theta 1 plus theta 2 is equal to 0. And coming to our third important standard result related to the conormal points here. So if theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3 are the eccentric angles of 3 points on the hyperbola. So initially we have talked about 4, but here we are talking about 3 points such that it's satisfying the condition of sine of theta 1 plus theta 2 plus sine of theta 2 plus theta 3 plus sine of theta 3 plus theta 1. That means sigma sine of theta 1 plus theta 2 is equal to 0. But here we are having only 3 eccentric angles, that is theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. So then the normals at these points are concurrent. So like how we are having for our 4, here you can see then the normals at which they are concurrent. So if they satisfies these conditions, theta 1, so if the eccentric angles of the 4 normal points satisfy these 2 conditions, then we can say those normal points are concurrent. And similarly the same thing with the 3 eccentric angles here of 3 normal points on the hyperbola. So this is the condition for 3 eccentric angles. And the next standard result here is if the normals at 4 points PQRS on the hyperbola are concurrent. So how we can say whether they are concurrent or not? So you can find their you can be known them whether they are concurrent or not by using the eccentric angles concept, which we have seen just now in our previous results. So if in case if they are concurrent, then there is a standard result related to their coordinates. So which is here sum of their x coordinates into sum reciprocal of their x coordinate sum is equal to 4. So same thing with y coordinates too. So their product will be equal to 4 here, right? So this condition will be satisfied by these 4 points at the 4 normal points on the hyperbola. So if those normal points are concurrent only, so then only this condition will be satisfied. If not, this condition is not satisfied by the 4 normal points which are lying on the hyperbola. So guys, what we have done, so we have finished almost our introduction to all the topics related to our tangent, normal, chord and everything. So basically these are as a sum we have clubbed them and discussed in the concept of position of a point with respect to the hyperbola, and then we have discussed our normal and the things related to normal. So now let's jump into our next concept, which is also an important concept with respect to our mains level. So which is for our both hyperbola as well as our ellipse too, because this concept of diameter and conjugate diameter we will be seeing only in these 2 conic sections, which are hyperbola as well as the ellipse. So even in the ellipse topic also we have already had this discussion regarding over this concept of diameter and the conjugate diameter. So let's have a look over this in our hyperbola too. So diameter we already know. So the locus of the midpoints of a system of parallel chords of a hyperbola. So it's the locus of midpoints of system of parallel chords. So that we already know. So that is actually the diameter, and the equation of the diameter here is given by with a slope of m, that is y equal to b square by a square m into x. So this is the equation of the diameter which is bisecting the system of parallel chords. So in simple, the equation of diameter is given here, that is y equal to b square by a square m into x. So similarly, we will be having a conjugate diameter too. Right. So the diameters of a hyperbola are said to be conjugate diameter if each bisects the chords parallel to the other. So there will be two diameters. So if one diameter bisects the chords parallel to the other, so vice versa, it's actually the vice versa of each of those. So then those two diameters are called to be conjugate diameters here. So here you can see, if we are having two diameters with equations y equal to m1x and y equal to m2x. So let these two be my equations of two diameters. So these two diameters are conjugate if it satisfies the condition, that is m1 into m2 is equal to b square by a square. So we have seen the same condition in ellipse. So there it will be minus of b square by a square, which we have seen in our ellipse too. Right. So this is the condition in order to identify whether the two diameters are conjugate or not. So that is about our diameter as well as the conjugate diameter. So apart from this diameter and conjugate diameter, so there is one more important concept. So that is only in our hyperbola, which is asymptote. Right. So in the beginning of the session, if you guys remember, we have talked about rectangular hyperbola. So that is somewhat related to this. So let's have a look over our asymptoted. So an asymptoted is nothing but to a curve. Asymptoted to a curve is actually a straight line. Right, it's a straight line at a finite distance from the origin, to which the tangent to the curve tends as the point of contact goes to infinity. So here you can see. So in this figure, so this is my hyperbola and this is also my hyperbola. So my asymptotants here are nothing but a straight lines to the curve. So here you can see, so these are the straight lines. So they actually at a finite distance from the origin, right, to which the tangent to the curve, but they will be as the point of contact goes to infinity. So here you can see, so they will be going infinity. So this is my hyperbolic equation and this is my conjugate hyperbola, and these straight lines here are nothing but my asymptotants. So similarly, as they are actually the straight lines, so we will be having their corresponding equations of asymptotants. Right. So let's have a look over these corresponding equations, and we can even have a combined equation too. So let's have look over those equations. So the equation of two asymptotants of the hyperbola x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 1 are. So y equal to plus or minus b by ax, or in other words, x by a plus or minus y by b is equal to 0. So this is my equation. So plus or minus because I am having two asymptotants, so that's why I'll be having plus or minus, which will be giving my equation. So these are my equations of asymptotants regarding to the hyperbola x square by a square minus x square by b square is equal to 1. So similarly, I can have my combined equation also. Right. So my combined equation here of these asymptotants is nothing but x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 0, because that is nothing but product of these two. So one equation is x by a plus y by b is equal to 0, and the other is x by a minus y by b is equal to 0. So the combined equation will be product of these two, which will be giving you the combined equation of the asymptotants of the hyperbola, which are x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to 0. Right. So when our a value is equal to b, that means the asymptotants of a rectangular hyperbola x square minus a square y square is equal to a square are y equal to plus or minus x, which are at right angle. Right, so this happens when my b value is equal to a. So their corresponding equations are, its importance here is y equal to plus or minus x, which are at the right angle. So a hyperbola and its conjugate hyperbola have the same asymptotes. Okay, so the equation of the pair of asymptotes differ the hyperbola and the conjugate hyperbola by the same constant. So here you have to remember they will be differing by the same constant. That means hyperbola minus asymptote is equal to asymptote minus conjugate hyperbola. So in other words, you can say equation of hyperbola minus equation of asymptotes. Like if there are two equations, you can directly do the product of those two here. It's a combined equation of asymptotes. So equation of hyperbola minus combined equation of hyperbola will be always a constant k. So that will also equal to equation of combined equation of asymptotes minus conjugate hyperbola. So these will be always constant here. So the asymptotes pass through the center of the hyperbola. So you can see in the figure here, guys. So they will be passing through the center of the hyperbola. So in the figure itself, we can identify that. So the bisectors of angle between the asymptotes of hyperbola are the coordinate axis. So coordinate axis will be the bisectors of the angle between the asymptotes of the hyperbola. So now here, as we have seen asymptotes to asymptotes for our hyperbolic equation, like x square by a square plus y minus y square by b square is equal to 1. So as we have 2, so there will be an angle between them. Yes or no? So we can even find the angle between those. So which is by using this format, using this formula, which is 2 tan inverse b by a. So we can even use this, that is 2 tan inverse b by a, or we can use in terms of secant also, that is 2 secant inverse b. So either of one we can use in order to find the angle between the asymptotes. Right. So here you can actually remember the equation, so that will be easy, and you have to remember the relation also between our equation of hyperbola as well as our combined equation of asymptotes. So they actually help us in order to solve questions related to our asymptotes as well as the hyperbola. So here comes the first question, guys, which is related to our hyperbola as well as the asymptotes. So let's have a look over this question. So let's read the question carefully here. So obtain the equation of hyperbola whose asymptotes are the straight lines. Okay, x plus 2y plus 3 equal to 0 and 3x plus 4y plus 5 is equal to 0, and which passes through the point 1 comma minus 1. So here the question is, we have to find the equation of the hyperbola. Right. So just now in our results, we have seen the relation, that is equation of hyperbola minus equation of our asymptotes is always constant. So we can actually apply this condition here. So equation of our hyperbola minus the equation of asymptotes will be always constant. So we can apply this relation here in order to find the equation of the hyperbola. So let's take that to be a product of our combined equation, that is x plus 2y plus 3, combined equation of my asymptotes. So 3x plus 4y plus 5. So this will be equal to constant. Right. So here they have mentioned, and that equation, because here our equation of hyperbola minus this, so that will be my, so here my equation of hyperbola minus this, so my equation of hyperbola here will be equal to, so this k x plus and all is equal to k. So this is actually passing through this point of 1 comma minus 1. So let's substitute that in order to find my k value. So 1 minus 2 plus 3, 3 minus 4 plus 5 is equal to k. 4 minus 2, 2. 8 minus 4, 4 is actually 8. Right, that means so this combined equation constant which is equal to 8. So that means this is nothing but my equation of the hyperbola, because that is always constant according to the relation. So this will give you the equation of the hyperbola here. Right, so far we have talked about our hyperbola and asymptotes and everything. So let's discuss about our next concept, which is rectangular hyperbola. So for this we have even seen the condition to satisfy by our second degree equation in order to represent a rectangular hyperbola, that is along with delta not equal to 0 and h square greater than ab. So there is one more condition, which is a plus b is equal to 0 in order to represent a equation of rectangular hyperbola. Right. So a hyperbola whose asymptotes include a right angle is said to be a rectangular hyperbola. So as I mentioned, so that is related to our asymptotes. So as we have seen how to find the angle between any two given asymptotes. So we have used 2 tan inverse b by a format, or 2 secant inverse e. So either of it we can find the angle between the asymptotes. So if this angle turns out to be a right angle, so then those said to be that hyperbola whose asymptotes include a right angle. So that hyperbola is said to be a rectangular hyperbola. Right, so you have to keep that in mind. A hyperbola whose asymptotes include a right angle is said to be a rectangular hyperbola. Or we can say that if lengths of transverse and conjugate axis of any hyperbola be equal, then it is also said to be rectangular hyperbola. That means a equal to b. Right, so let's see the eccentricity of our rectangular hyperbola and the standard conditions which are related to the rectangular hyperbola here. Right, so in a hyperbola, x square by a square minus y square by b square is equal to a equal to 1 if our transverse as well as conjugate axis length, that is a equal to b, if they becomes equal, that is a equal to b, then it is said to be, the hyperbola is said to be a rectangular hyperbola. And the corresponding eccentricity of any rectangular hyperbola will always be constant, and that value is always equal to root 2. Sorry. So this you have to keep in mind. So the eccentricity of a rectangular hyperbola is always root 2, and any hyperbola with the value of b equal to a is said to be a rectangular hyperbola. That means what will be our equation of a rectangular hyperbola? So x square by a square minus y square by a square is equal to 1. That means x square minus y square is equal to a square. So this is our equation of our rectangular hyperbola, which is x square minus y square by a square. So you can see here the angles of asymptotes here will be 90 degrees. Right, so here this hyperbola is a rectangular hyperbola. Right, so the eccentricity we already know, that is root 2, and the center will be origin, and the vertices will be same, a comma 0 and minus a comma 0, and we will be having the foci which is different somewhat, because initially it is ae plus or minus ae comma 0, but for our rectangular hyperbola the eccentricity will always be equal to root 2. So directly, instead of writing e, we can directly write root 2 and write the coordinates of the foci. So here the coordinates of the foci are given to be plus or minus root 2a comma 0. Right, so there are few more standard terms and their corresponding formulas or the coordinates with respect to our rectangular hyperbola of the format x square minus y square is equal to a square. So here you can see this L dash and L are my directors. Right. So the equations of these directories are also with relation to my eccentricity I can write. So which are given by here plus or minus a by root 2. So in general it will be x equal to plus or minus a by e. So whereas here my e is equal to root 2. So here the equation of directrix are equal to x is equal to plus or minus a by root 2. Right. So and the next I am having here is length of latest rectum, which is equal to 2a. And when it comes to the parametric format, so here you can see it's a x square minus y square. So my x coordinate will be a secant theta and y will also be a tan theta in order to satisfy my rectangular hyperbola of form x square minus y square is equal to a square here. And even my equation of tangents and normals can also be here. That is my equation of tangent in terms of parametric format I can have, that is x secant theta minus y tan theta is equal to a. And then my normal equation in terms of my parametric format here, that is given by x by secant theta plus y by tan theta is equal to 2a. So this is my equation of normal. Right. So far I have discussed about my rectangular hyperbola of the format x square minus a square by x square minus y square by a square. But now I am having a different form of rectangular hyperbola, which is of format xy is equal to c square. Like how we are having our regular hyperbola as conjugate hyperbola and all, like in different forms. So similar way, even the rectangular hyperbola will also have different forms. So now we are going to discuss the another form of rectangular hyperbola, which is xy is equal to c square. Right. So here asymptotes are perpendicular lines. So here you can see, so asymptotes are perpendicular lines. That means x equal to 0 and y equal to 0. So this is my rectangular hyperbola here with the equation xy is equal to c square, and my asymptotes are these two perpendicular lines, which are x is equal to 0 as well as y equal to 0. But exactly the eccentricity is the same, that is equal to root 2. And center is also 0, 0, where my focus will be somewhat different. So here my focus will be having the coordinates root 2c, root 2c, and then minus root 2c, minus root 2c. Even my vertices will also be changing because here my constant is c. So my vertices of this rectangular hyperbola will be different, as well as length of latest rectum, and my point form of parametric point form will also be different. So here my length of the latest rectum is given to be 2 root 2c based upon the c value, and my parametric form of coordinates for this rectangular hyperbola are given to be x is equal to ct and y is equal to c divided by t. So as we have seen our equation of tangent, equation of normal for the rectangular hyperbola of form x square minus y square is equal to a square. So let's have a look over the equation of tangent of the rectangular hyperbola of form xy is equal to c square. Right. So let's see the first form, which is a point form of equation of tangent for rectangular hyperbola xy is equal to c square. Right. So the equation of tangent at the point, so as it's a point form, so at point x1 comma y1 to the rectangular hyperbola, so that is given here, which is xy1 plus yx1 is equal to 2c square. So this is my equation of tangent in point form to the rectangular hyperbola xy is equal to c square. So in the same way I can have in my parametric form, and I can have my point of intersection also. Right. So in my parametric form, so just now we have seen what are our coordinates in parametric format. So that is x is equal to ct and y coordinate equal to c by t. Right. So my corresponding parametric form of equation of tangent here is given by x by t plus yt is equal to 2c. So this is my equation of tangent in parametric form. So tangent at point Q with coordinates ct1 comma c by t1 and point Q with coordinates ct2 c by t2 to the rectangular hyperbola intersect at. So here, as there is a point, so you can write your parametric form of equation. That means, so x by t1 plus y t1 is equal to 2c, and x by plus y t2 is equal to 2c. So this is my equation of tangent at point P. This is my equation of tangent at point Q. Right. So in order to find the intersection of these two tangents, I can solve these two equations and get my intersection in terms of the variables t1, t2 as well as t. So which will be having the same point of coordinates here which is given. So you can directly solve it. Instead, you can actually remember these coordinates which are given here. So 2c t1 t2 divided by t1 plus t2 and 2c by t1 plus t2 are the point of intersection of these two tangents passing through the points which are formed at the point P and Q to the rectangular hyperbola. So as we have seen our tangent equation, so let's have a look over the normal equations also for our rectangular hyperbola of form xy is equal to c square. So for at the point x1 comma y1, so the normal equation here for rectangular hyperbola xy is equal to c square is given here, which is x1 minus y1 is equal to x1 square minus y1 square. So this is my point form of normal equation. So let's have look over the parametric form too. So my coordinates in parametric form will be same, that is ct by ct comma c by t. Right. So for the rectangular hyperbola xy is equal to c square. So the equation of normal at the point ct comma c by t is given by xt cube minus yt minus ct power 4 plus c is equal to 0. So this is the parametric form of equation of the normal. Right. So the equation of the normal at the point ct comma c by t is the fourth degree equation in t. Right. So in general, so here you can see it's a fourth degree equation in t. So that's the you can see in this equation. So in general, maximum 4 normals can be drawn from a point to the hyperbola. So this we already know, we have already seen. So a maximum of 4 normals can be drawn to any parabola. So even for the rectangular parabola of form xy is equal to c square. So as we have discussed our hyperbola, conjugate hyperbola and the things related to that, and after that we have jumped into our diameter, conjugate diameter, asymptotic, and then we have end up with our rectangular hyperbola. So let's have a final question in our regarding to our rectangular hyperbola. So let's see how we can solve this. So if the normal at a point P to the rectangular hyperbola x square minus y square is equal to 4 meets the axis of x and y in G and capital G and small g respectively. Right. So here there is a normal drawn at a point. So first what you can do, you can take a point P with the coordinates x1 comma y1. So now write the equation of the normal to this rectangular hyperbola. So let's write that. So y minus y1 is equal to minus y1 by x1 x minus x1. So if I write my equation of normal, so this will be x1y plus y1x is equal to 2y1 x1. So this is my equation of the normal at point P x1 comma y1 to the rectangular hyperbola x square minus y square is equal to 4. And here it has given this normal is actually meets the axis of x and y. So if it meets at x, so what are my coordinates of capital Z? So it will be 2x1 comma z 0. And if it meets at y axis, it will be 0 comma 2y1. So these are my coordinates of capital G and small g, and C is the center of the hyperbola. So here center of the hyperbola is 0 comma 0. So now what I have to prove? My capital G to small g distance is equal to 2 times of my capital P to capital Z. So here you have already have the coordinates of capital G 2x1 comma 0. You already have the coordinates of small z with coordinates 0 comma 2y1, and then coordinates of P we have already considered x1 comma y1, and then coordinates of C which are 0, 0. So all the points are already derived here. All the corresponding coordinates are known here. It's just that apply the distance formula and just verify whether the LHS is equal to RHS or not. So that's the only thing we have to do here. So that's all guys. We have covered almost every concept of our hyperbola topic with respect to our JEE mains as well as advanced level. So we have even done, we have even seen different models or different types of questions which we can expect from this concept of hyperbola. So with this topic of hyperbola, we are done with our conic sections. So in this series of our one-shot review, so we'll get back with our next topic in our next session. So thank you guys.